So last time we did look at lists. Today we are going to do dictionaries. And when we're talking about lists, we talked about quite a number of things. So we say that lists are all a collection of items, as you can see here. And there is a way that we do put lists and in Python. So for example, names, and put the items inside the list, depending on the data type. If it is text, then put them in quotation marks. If it is numbers, then we just leave them as is, then put them as elements or items inside the list, separated by commas. And we talked about quite a number of things, and we say that we can be able to, add some elements into the list. We can remove elements into the list. We can do what is called indexing. For example, 0, 1, 2, indices start at 0 in Python. And we can be able to do what is called slicing. And we can also loop through the lists. So that is what we talked about. So today we're going to talk about dictionaries. So when it comes to dictionaries are just the same analogy as how you always look up for words in a dictionary. So when you're going to a dictionary and there is a word that you're looking for, so you look for that word, then you look at the meaning of that word. So you get the word itself. Let's say sumptuous. What is sumptuous? Sumptuous, then there is a column, then there is an explanation of what sumptuous is. So that is what dictionaries are. And it's just the same analogy also in Python, or when you're trying to do some data analysis. That is how dictionaries are structured. But when it comes to dictionaries now, for example, here is a dictionary and you see user profile, then there is an assignment operator. Then dictionaries are put in what is called curly braces. These are what curly braces are. So everything is put inside the curly braces. So in the normal dictionary, as I said the other time, that you'll be talking about sumptuous. So sumptuous, and you're told that what sumptuous is about. It's a delicacy or something very sweet. So that is what sumptuous is. So the same thing as in dictionary, it is the same way. You do put, the first it's called, now this is called key, and whatever you're trying to explain is called the value. So the key is the first part of the dictionary. The value is the explanation of what you just of the key. So if you want to put some more information into this dictionary, you can add. And when you're adding now, as you can see here, for example, in that dictionary, you have curly braces here. Then you have name. Then you're told that name is Alice. Then it is separated by a comma. Then you come and do it and talk about another um, property of what you're talking about. So it's the user profile. So you're talking about now the name is Alice. What about the age? So when you're looking at whatever the key, and you say that these are the keys and these are the values. So the age here, say Alice is 30 years old. So of course we talked about data types the other time. We say that strings or text are always wrapped around quotation marks, as you can see here. But when it comes to integers and when it comes to other data types, integers and floats and decimals, I just put them as is. This is an integer. If it was a decimal, let's say height. When you're talking about height here, so you'll have height, you'll have, let's say, 1.81. That is a float. And we have also Boolean. So we talk about is active, let's say true or false, right? And you close all that with with a curly braces. Curly braces. So that is basically what dictionaries are all about. The same analogy. So when we go back now to what we have here, right? So data analysis is all about, now we are having these data type, we're having this dictionary. And when you're doing analysis, it's about accessing the data inside the data types that we have. For example, accessing information inside this dictionary, for example, name. If I want to access, if you want to print out Alice in this is called user profile. It's called user profile. If I want to print out name, what do I do? Right. So if I want to print out name, what I'll do is I'll just come here and say name and put name inside square brackets. When I do that, I say name, then the name Alice will be printed out. So when I say print in Python, print user profile, brackets, name. This is what I'm going to get. So when you're doing printing or trying to accessing data inside dictionaries, you use the key. As we talked about, we are having the key value pairs. So you use the name of the dictionary, which is user profile. Then now you put, name or anything that you want to access inside the dictionary. So the dictionary has quite a number of key value pairs. So these are key value pairs, 1, 2, 3, 4. If you want to access height, just put your height, then you will print out height for you. So basically, that is what dictionaries are all about. Now, let's now move to the coding part. Let's move to the coding part. So here, I'll just quickly let me connect. So input here. So a dictionary stores labeled data, as we talked about: employee name, department, salary, his manager, skills. So you see, we talked about list. So even list can be inside. List can be inside a dictionary. Can be in a dictionary too. So employee. So when you take these, you put it here. Let's start with the basics, the way we always start. So we print. What is the type of this? I just want you to appreciate the different data types. So talk about employee. So when you print that, you told that the class is a dictionary. So let's say that let me bring another. So let's say you're printing. Say you're printing the employee itself now, the dictionary itself. So when you print, it's going to give you the dictionary. As I said the other time, that this is a dictionary name that is giving you the name of the person separated by a comma. So all the elements, all the key value pairs inside the dictionary are separated by a comma. That is very important. So let's say that you want to access the salary. So if you want to access the salary, you see what has been done here. So when you just print employee, then into brackets salary, you're going to get the information about the salary. If you want to print about the skills, this is what you're going to get. Exactly. And what is this? As we said earlier, that anything that is bound by square brackets and is separated by commas, that is a list. And you've seen how lists are differentiated from dictionaries. So, for example, let me just print the type. You want to understand the type of the skills. So when you print type, it is a list. But do you see how we've been able to extract, skills from these whole dictionary? So all of this is a dictionary, but we've been able to access skills, right? By doing what? By referencing the key in the key. What I was saying is that now we have a dictionary, and you have the value, key value. And you've seen um, if I want to extract some value of salary, you see how I just put the name of that dictionary, then I put in square brackets. You see here in square brackets, then I write the name, and that is going to give you the information about that. So let's talk about now, how do we add? As you can see here, add or update a key. So access values by key. I think we've talked about that. So if I want to add a key, right? So initially, so when you come here, you do another cell and you print employee. When you print employee, how many elements do we have here? So elements are the entities that are separated by commas. So these are commas, these are commas. So say that we have 1, we have 2, we have 3, we have 4, and we have 5. All this is one element, but this is a list. So we have like 5, but we want to add another one. So when it comes to adding, we just come here. As you can see, we take the name of the dictionary, which is employee. You put square brackets, then you put the key of the key value pair that you want to insert into the dictionary, then you put the value. So when you do this and you come here and you print employee, what do you get here? Yep, it has been added. Yeah, interesting, right? So even if you want to add another one, salary, not adding actually, it is updating, because at the end of the day we have salary here at 5,800. So when you want to update, you come here, click, then you get that. So when you come and write print employee, this is what you get here. So that is what you get when you get that. The salary was 58,000, but now the salary has gone up by 4,000, it's 62,000. So those are some of the operations or methods, functions that can be done um, that can be done in a dictionary, right? It's the same way that we are looking at lists and looking at how do we add elements into the list, how do we remove elements from the list, and how do we like slice some parts of the list, remove them, or use it for something. So basically, that is what data analysis is all about: understanding these data types, understanding how information is stored in these different data types, and how do we access the information, how do we access entities, how do we access elements from these data types, how do we remove them, how do we update them. So basically, that is what we are trying to understand when you're looking at these data types. Right now, we want to continue with the dictionaries and see the different things that it can do. So another thing is if we have a dictionary, right? If we have a dictionary, if we have a dictionary, and in the dictionary we want to check if we have a certain key or a certain key value there. So we just do print. Very easy, actually. We can even say you have skills in employee. So what does it say here? So what are we trying to do? Just a minute, it loads. It says true. It says it's true that we have an entity or an element inside the dictionary that has a key with the name skills. So let's try something else. Skill. We have skill. It's false. We don't have skill. The only thing that we have is skills. And false, you're getting feedback, an output, and it's giving you false or true. And we say that that is a data type, and a very, very important data type called Boolean. So we talked about strings, we talked about strings, we talked about boolean, we talked about floats, we talked about integers, we talked about all those kinds of data types. Very important in this journey of data analytics. So that is one. Another one. Then the last one is which is very important actually. Um, but we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about this. So let me add this. So when you print employee has name, Amara, or say department, it's analytics, salary is this one. So sometimes you want to do some certain operations on all the elements inside the dictionary. So how do you do that? This is a bit more advanced, but we're going to I'm going just to mention it. Then when you reach that point, we're going to go deep with it. So if I want to loop through all the elements of the dictionary. I want to access these, I want to access these, and when we talk about looping is, let me just write the code and I'll explain. So for key, then we say value in employee dot items, right? Then we say print. You remember the other time we were talking about the F literal, how you do printing, right? So you put it, all of it in quotation marks. Then you say now you access the key here. So first of all, you say key will be, then you say key. Then you talk about value will be, then you put it inside there. Put it inside there. So when you do this, when you say for key value in employee.items, so what you're trying to do is you're trying to access both the key and the value inside this employee dictionary. So even before that, I can say print I just put it. Okay, because I want to see the difference that this brings. So when I do this and I do that, so next line, then it prints key is name, then the value is Amara. Say next line, key is department, then value is analytics. Next line, key is salary, value is 6200. So imagine if you wanted to do an operation on all the elements inside the dictionary. This is how you do. This is how you do what is called looping, which we're going to discuss in the next episode. So the last thing that I want to talk about is a list of dictionary. So right here, we saw that we can even create a list inside a dictionary. But right now we are talking about, can we also create a list of dictionaries? So we know the difference, we know the difference between lists and dictionary is that the list, we do square brackets and put the elements inside the list. But when it comes to dictionaries, the dictionaries, it goes the other way around, that we are putting curly braces, right? Then we are putting key value pairs like dictionaries, like the real dictionary that we always know. And we are putting commas, and those elements now create what is called a dictionary. So right now we can create a list of dictionaries, and to create a list of dictionaries, it has been shown here that you can just create dictionaries the normal way that we create dictionaries, right? But let me put this in a new. Put this here. So there you go. So we have a dictionary here, right? Because we have the name. Sorry. So we have a dictionary here. So you can go to see this is name, and this is what a dictionary looks like. So we have name, Umar cells, 85,000 region is Nairobi. The same thing goes with the other dictionaries that we have. So these dictionaries can also be put in a list such that if I want to access the first dictionary, I can just say, now I use the functions for list, what is called list functions. You remember that this will be the zero index, this will be the first index, this will be the second. So this 0, 1, 2. So if I want to access the first one, I just put brackets and I do that. Let's see what you're going to get. Exactly. So this is what you're going to get. You're going to get whatever you're seeing here. So you've already accessed the first dictionary, but I want to access the cells of the first dictionary. How do I do that? Again, I continue and I put another square bracket and I do cells. When I click that, you're going to get 8500. If I want to access the cells for the second dictionary, I go to the second index and I do that, and I'm going to get 72,000. If I want to access for the third one, the same thing, right? And if I want maybe to access the region, yeah, for this third item, the third dictionary, that's what you're going to get. So you see how these things relate to each other. So I have created a list of dictionaries. So if I want to access the first dictionary, I use the list. If I want to access the first dictionary, then I use the functions for the list, put in the brackets, then I put the index, and the index starts from 0. So if I want to access the first dictionary, I put team, then I put 0. Then I'll be able to access the first dictionary. And if I want to access the key of maybe the cells, I want to understand the cells of the first dictionary, I also put square brackets, and I put now the name of the key in the key value pair. So that is basically how dictionaries created and manipulated. And I'm happy that you reached here in this journey of data analytics. And I'll just have to remind you again, data analytics is all about data, how data is stored, in the different data types that we talked about, how we access these data types, how we manipulate them, how we add some things into lists, into dictionaries, removing them, concatenating them with other things. So basically, that is what data analytics will revolve around as we continue and advance into other topics. Thank you.